All right, welcome everyone to our second podcast.
Hi.
Hello out there.
Hi.
Once again, Arnaz,
Janet.
Janeth.
Janeth Neighborough. My social is.
Sorry, we're just having the giggles all night.
Yes.
But glad to have you guys back. I'm glad you guys decided to follow through and see what we have to offer. Tonight, we're actually going to today.
Tonight, whenever you're watching this, day, night.
Yeah, wherever you are in the world. We're going to be talking about parental issues. Something that's very near and dear to both you and my heart.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of viewers out there, we may be going through so much with our parents, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, all of that. So we want to touch on a couple topics today, right? So I think we're going to talk about care for or care by parents. Oh, look, we have a little cameo appearance by Drogo. But yeah, definitely want to talk about that. Let's talk about minority. What we definitely want to get into is the differences between a Western type upbringing and our relationship with parents versus a much more cultural or minority kind of approach to that.
Yeah.
So definitely very intrigued to see what Latinos and Hispanics. I think there's a lot of overlays that we kind of share in the Polynesian community as well.
Yeah. I guess for us, it's basically you don't get to leave the house when you're 18. You get to leave the house when you get married or you get pregnant. But I mean,
or get kicked out, but not really kicked out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you do end up leaving before, it's like taboo. It's like forbidden. Like you shouldn't do that. It's like doing wrong towards your parents or your elders.
Yeah, I think that's the same way in Polynesian households. And for those unfamiliar with, I guess we should define Polynesian and Latino and Hispanic and just really talk about the differences. Polynesian, when I speak broadly about Polynesia, it's Samoa, Tonga. We have Maori from New Zealand. We have Hawaiians, Tahitians. We have some of the other islands, Tokelauans, Tuvaluans. You have your Walisians, Uvea Futuna. So that's kind of like who I talk about. Cook Islanders, don't want to forget them. But that's who I kind of speak about when I say Polynesians. More broadly, for my understanding, the Samoan upbringing, because that's what I was brought up as, and Latinos.
It's like
so who? Can we break that down? Because that's another one too. I think maybe in our next episode we'll talk about Latino and Hispanic
and all that,
because some Latin countries do not like to be associated as Latino or Latinx or Hispanic.
Yeah.
So there's just that differential. But back to the subject at hand. It's the same way in the Polynesian community or upbringing where you're not allowed to leave unless you get married or you happen to just run away because you get tired of it. But then it's shame on your family, shame on you. Who the hell do you think you are type deal.
Yeah.
Where it's very, very new, this whole idea, being raised in America or some of these other countries outside of our own, we start adapting to those social norms. And we were talking about it earlier. I think the biggest difference between our cultures and the American one, because again, we live here, so we're going to speak on behalf of the Americans, right? Specifically white. Right. So what we see is with white families, they're all about individuality. Right. At the age of 18, we want you to be individuals, and you're an adult. Find your own way type deal.
Yeah.
It's out of the house. It's kind of that given. You're going to leave this house at 18. Figure it out.
And it's like you see it in movies, you see it on TV, and like. And for us, I mean, like Mexicans, it's not the norm. Like that does not happen. Like that's funny. Go ahead and try it.
It's like, you want to leave where? Where are you going to go?
Try it.
Yeah, and I remember when I first moved out when I was 26.
Okay.
I was always so envious of my little sisters. Being the oldest, I thought I was going to be oldest. I thought I was going to be the first to leave the house. But being culturally bound as an elder child or eldest child and the male, like you're supposed to take care of your family, your parents, and just that that guilt. I think that's the biggest thing with I think with many cultures, especially ours, it's the guilt.
Yeah.
They will guilt you into, why are you leaving? So you don't care about your parents. You don't care about us. And to this day, I still hear, you don't care about your mom. You know, my dad has since passed, but I would definitely hear it all the time. You don't care about your parents. Why did you leave? Why don't you move back?
Yeah. And I hear it from my family all the time, because I left when I was I think I was 20. My parents moved away and I was like, I'm not going, sorry, bye. Like, and I heard it from all family members, near and dear, and people who I haven't heard from in a very long time, calling me up, texting me, calling my mom, hey, your mom's sick, why are you leaving? Do you not love her? You're the youngest, you're a woman, you should not leave as a woman.
It's your job to take care of your parents. It's your duty.
Yeah. And I think it's like an unwritten
rule.
For
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You have to take care of your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is, you know, even to this day, you know, I think I get a lot of people who don't understand, well, why do you pay for where your parents stay? You know what I mean? You're not living there, so why is it your responsibility? Well, again, you know, we were raised, you know, our parents, what did they always say? I spent all this time, all these years clothing you, feeding you, putting you through school, taking care of you and your siblings. Now it's your turn.
Yeah.
What are you going to do for us for, you know, what we did for you?
Exactly.
So I definitely always remember that growing up. It's, you know, you promised us this. When are you going to fulfill that promise? You know what I mean? You told us this. And so there's a lot of pressure there. You know what I mean? I think it's one of those things that growing up, a lot of times in our minds, because I know we don't say it out loud, for fear of getting our soul smacked out of us, right? But it's like, we wish we were white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To all my white friends out there, y'all were lucky, okay? Because you guys, in our eyes, had it easy.
Yeah.
As much as your parents pushed you guys out to be independent, they still offered some kind of support. You know, let me buy you a car. Shoot, I didn't get my first car until I graduated high school. You know, I've always wanted a car.
Yeah.
Wasn't fortunate, but it's okay. You know what I mean? I think a lot of those things are life lessons that, you know, generation by generation, we want to give our kids, and then they want to give their kids a better life than they've, you know, than their parents had, you know? And again, I don't think I had a horrible life. I love every single part of my life.
Same.
I never, ever considered myself poor in anything, you know what I mean?
No.
Even though we never had money, our parents made do with a household full of people.
Yeah.
You know, siblings, family that visited, stayed.
But I mean, like, looking back, you're like, wow, that was not normal.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you're like, oh, this is normal. Everybody lives like this, right?
You guys don't have 500 cousins?
What?
Like, white people are like, I only have 2 cousins. What?
Oh.
That's a thing?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I feel like it's a great, that's one of the things we definitely want to hear back, you know, from all of our viewers out there. What are the norms in your culture? What are the norms? And even for those in our Samoan and Mexican communities, like, what reminds you of your upbringing? What's your favorite memory? And what's your scarred memory, I guess, you know what I mean? Because I think to some degree we're pretty scarred with a lot of different things, right? But it's embedded in us, and I think it's part of our duty. You know, I don't look at it as a burden, even though in Western society it's a burden.
It's a burden, yeah.
Because everyone should be responsible for themselves, where for us, we look at it as it's a privilege and a duty. And, you know, again, I just mentioned my dad passing. I think it puts a lot of things into perspective. You know, having your parents around and being able to do for them. Don't wait until they're gone to buy them flowers or to take them food or to go visit with them. You know, that's one thing that I don't want to say I regret, because I feel like I spent a good amount of time. But in my latter years where I've been on my own, working 2 different jobs type deal, I found that I was spending not as much time with my parents as I would love to have, you know, and so I would try to make that up by taking them on trips or trying to make do.
Yeah.
But 2020 quickly reminded us that appreciate what you have, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Something else that I want to talk about, not this podcast, maybe the next one, but it's about us as the first generation and that unspoken rule about taking care of our parents. With that, we also have siblings. Most of us have a shit ton of siblings. And where does that lie? As the eldest, you
bit by a flea or something.
Oh,
it
no.
It was just land. Sorry.
As the eldest, it's like unspoken, but you need to take care of everybody. And you take on all this weight on your shoulders.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes as the youngest, you take on all the weight. And it's like, okay, well, sorry. And that's something that I would love to talk about. Like, is it just Mexicans, or does it happen everywhere? Or
I think at some point when we get to that lovely podcast, there's a shift of duty. There's a shift of responsibility, where it goes from the eldest to now it becomes the youngest girl, right? And I think there's a lot of overlays and a lot of similarities that we have in our our cultures and our upbringing that would shed some light on that because it's tough. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that cultural expectation put on. He's a little aggressive.
Encore.
But definitely worth getting into because again, that where do you fall in the hierarchy? Who does what? Or is it something that's communicated across the board that everyone should equally kind of take on?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but and then like really talking around. You mentioned earlier, kind of like the only out that you have when with our parents, from living with them is really marriage or what was the other one that we said?
Getting pregnant.
That one is getting pregnant, kidding. And then they kick you out because it's like shame on your family.
Yeah,
you're gonna go stay with our relatives somewhere else. You know what I mean? Sending you back to Mexico. By the way, we're both from Oaxaca.
We're from Oaxaca.
But yeah, that's a huge one. Like I remember vividly, me and one of my best friends, both were like, you know what? I think we should actually get married. That way, we both get to leave our homes, and then we can live our own separate lives with the understanding that we're gonna do our own thing. Like it was totally a thing because we both are from she's half white, half Samoan, and I'm Samoan, and we're like, this is the out. We know that our parents would not be opposed to us moving out our own because we're married, and it just is so funny to think back to how you plot to want to live on your own because again, we come from this collective and everything is done as a collective that you want a piece of individuality,
you do,
and kind of that independence that apart from your family.
Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. I love living on my own. I love my privacy, but I miss it.
I know. I mean, I don't think I could ever live with family ever again. Sorry, I love you guys, but
same.
But it's just there's something about having your own space, having your own bubble, having to do things on your own. Like you learned everything that you need to do from your parents or how they want you to do it, but then you discover how you like things done.
Right.
And that's where life lessons come into play, and this is where marriage comes into play. And so next question that we have, that kind of like a burning question, because like it was a very interesting topic that we kind of discussed, is how much does your parents or do your parents interfere in your personal life / marriage / relationship, right? So this is a great one, and I think I kind of talked to you earlier. There's a whole lot of buzz going on right now with 90 Day Fiancé with Kalani and Asuelo, especially in the Samoan community, and especially for non-Samoans who are questioning how Samoan relationships really are, because a little snippet of, I don't watch the show. I just see a lot of friends post about it and a lot of just stories people post about 90 Day Fiancé. I'll probably
add a clip.
Yeah.
I'll add a clip in between so we can kind of see what it is that we're talking about.
Exactly. So
we'll add a clip.
Definitely add a clip about the whole give me money. Now the Asuelo's mom wants him to divorce Kalani, his wife. And she says she doesn't care about the kids. She just wants her son to give her money or move back to Samoa to take care of her.
Back home, we got to put our parents first no matter we're married. We're supposed to take care of them and send money no matter what.
Well, do you send money home?
It's none of your business.
It is my business.
We are asking my son. Just leave my daughter alone.
Yeah.
So in that respect, how do like Mexicans treat that? Like, how much do they interfere? Are they as blunt as to say things like that, or is there some kind of boundaries?
Honestly, I think it just depends on your suegra. Like, you get lucky or not. It just depends, because, I mean, for the most part, I think it's kind of like once your son moves. My aunt used to have a saying that once your son leaves with his wife or whatever, that's no longer your son. That is, he's married, and now the owner of, as fucked up as that sounds, is his wife, and whatever. And whenever you want to talk to him or see him, then that you have to basically ask the wife.
But it's so hard because that creates so much conflict. You know what I mean? And it's like, especially when you have some headstrong sisters or moms out there, right?
We have a Korean coworker, and she was talking to me, and she basically said, your boyfriend, does he have an older sister? And I was like, well, she's a year older than me. It's like, okay, well, in our culture, you need to respect her. You don't want that. If you're gonna get married with somebody, you want somebody who's either a single child or has a sister who's younger, because then she'll basically be ahead, like on top of you, and she'll tell you what to do. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, see, that's it's crazy to hear that, because like there's, and then to hear that about you know, Mexicans, and for us, like I think I talked a little bit about this with you, but in the Samoan culture, like especially now with religion and everything, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but once you get married, you actually go live with the wife's family. You're to take care of the wife's family, and I think, you know, that really derives from also the Bible, you know, where you belong to the wife's family now, where you take care of your wife and her family. Yeah. Right. But I know in the Tongan community, very similar to the whole sister thing, I think it's the dad's oldest sister, which they call their fahu, which kind of really dictates a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? And that's where the respect goes, right? Very similar to what you mentioned about the Korean culture, where the older sister, where for us, like everything is male driven. Right. But that there's a sacred bond between brother and sister, which we definitely will get into as well. Yeah. But I think it's, did we go off topic a little bit? Because I feel like we're talking, I love it. We have so much stuff to talk about. But let's get back on topic real quick. Around how much do they get involved, right? I think with Samoan moms, they're very involved. I know my mom is very, very involved. And for those that know my mom, she's very, very outspoken, blunt, honest, but very, very loving. You know, there's two sides to my mom. She either hates you or she loves you. And if she hates you, she'll tell you why. And it could definitely create a conversation and create a starting point, or she loves you, you know what I mean? Right. But the one thing that I love about my mom, and I think that's kind of where I learned it from too, is to not be phony, don't be fake. I think the world deserves the true you, and to be desensitized to a lot of emotion, to that hurt, right? That ego that gets involved. It's not really ego. It's just, hey, these are the facts. This is what I don't like. Where I'm not as blunt as my mom. I'll definitely talk about facts. I'm all about facts. I have said this to anyone that comes into my life. Remove the emotion. Let's talk about it objectively. Yeah. If there's something that you want to talk about, remove that emotion first, because when it happens, you're going to react out of emotion, right? But once you literally have settled and, you know, had time to think about it, and this goes for parents too, you know, as much as we want to talk back, we can't talk back. You know what I mean? We're not allowed to talk back to our parents. No matter how old you are, they will still kill you. Oh yeah. Like legit. And so, no matter how involved they get, you just let them, and then you just have to correct it in your own respectful way. Right. Of course. So, I know, a little dry there. But yeah, I think doing good on time. Look at that. What? I just burped a little bit. I didn't hear you. I was like, what's going on over there? But yeah, I think those are some really great topics that we would love to get some feedback as far as how involved people get. And I want to hear some stories. I mean, share them. You know, we want to hear it. Good, bad, the ugly. Like I said, I want the truth out there. It's great to kind of acknowledge that and just kind of get that out there, because it creates some really good conversation. And, you know, in the adverse position, the in-law that feels like, what the hell did I get myself into? right? Like, what the hell did I get myself into? I didn't marry your mom. I didn't marry your family, but I think in the Samoan culture, that's why they always say marry someone of Samoan descent, or they would like you to, because only a Samoan will understand what a Samoan goes through.
Right.
You know, palablaves, which is like anything that comes up, like a funeral, wedding, this, that, and the other, because money is involved with a lot of different things, but we're such a family unit that we take care of each other. Right. And for those that don't understand the culture, it's going to be a huge culture shock.
Right.
And they may not like it. They may have things that they have to say about it, but it's hard because our culture is founded on respect, and you never speak up against elders.
Right.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, I mean, I didn't know that, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I want to. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, I think that's what we have for today's podcast.
Look at that.
Yeah, like we're trying to keep this, pretty short and sweet for you guys, just to kind of get some traction here, to see what topics you guys want us to discuss, some things that we truly feel that you guys really want us to talk about that's burning,
Yeah, let us know. We're going to have Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music, hopefully all out under Okay Bye if we can.
Okay Bye.
Okay Bye.
You're definitely going to, yes, we may have some merch too. So coming soon.
It's in the works.
Yes. But until then.
Stop. I
can't. That's all we have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Wait. Okay.
Oh no, we're not saying bye.
No, okay, no, we're saying bye. Okay. Okay. Bye. Bye.